The scene of being on a fishing boat on the shore of the Sea of Galilee doesn't sound too bad on a day like this, does it? It's a beautiful scene that has a lot to teach us. It teaches us about how the apostles responded to the Lord's call, and it teaches us something about how we are to be attentive to the Lord's special call for each and every one of us. Notice that when Jesus called the apostles, his call was not random, but particular. His call was not anonymous, but by name. His call was not an invitation to consider or to think about or get back to me next week, but rather it was the kind of call that prompted the apostles to respond immediately. Immediately, they left their nets and their boats and their father behind, and they went to follow him. This tells us something about the power of the Lord's call. These were practical, hard-working men. These were not starry-eyed idealists. They would not have just left their livelihood behind on a whim, but they did so on the strength of the Lord's presence. Jesus called each one of them for a particular reason. Each one would have his own job to do after the resurrection. After the day of Pentecost, they would go their separate ways, each doing a different work of evangelization. In the same way, the Lord calls each one of us by name, in particular, for a reason. The Lord who calls us is the Lord who made us and who knows us very, very well, inside and out. He knows your talents, your gifts, your abilities, your aptitudes, your interests. He knows them because he planted them within you. He planted them within you for a reason. Each one of you are here for a reason. Each one is here to build up the kingdom of God in a special way. St. John Henry Newman says that God gives to every person on earth something to do that no one else on earth can do. Think about that for a second. God gives you something to do that nobody else on earth can do. Nobody can be the parent that you are called to be, or the grandparent that you are called to be. Nobody can be the brother or the sister or the son or the daughter or the member of this parish the way you are called to be. You are here for a reason. And when the Lord calls, there is an immediacy about it. There is an urgency that we can see, especially as we look around the world, as we look around our community, and we reflect upon the significance of this particular day in our nation's history, as we were reminded before Mass that 50 years ago today, that terrible decision was made by the Supreme Court, that infamous decision that opened the floodgates to abortion on demand. That was the law of the land for 49 years. Thanks be to God, it did not make it to 50. For last summer, the law was overturned on the feast of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. God always has a way, doesn't he? But we know that things are not over. We know instead that the battlefield has shifted to the states. We know that this issue will be a political football for decades to come. We know the importance of being vigilant as voters, mindful that every national election can bring about a shift in the Supreme Court, that every state election can bring about a shift in the legislature, in the governor's office. We need to be vigilant and make sure that we stand up for what is right and what is good, that we stand up always for life. We know that we also need to keep our eyes and our ears open locally, here in our midst, because no matter what the law of the land may be, there will always be those who find themselves in trouble and who need the support and encouragement of good people to choose life. Each one of us can do that in his or her own way. If you're a young person, if you're in high school or you're college age or around there, and you have a friend who is in trouble, who will that person talk to first? Oh, I'm sure it's going to be their priest or their minister or their rabbi or their teacher or their guidance counselor. No, it's going to be their best friend. It's going to be a friend. What should I do? I don't know what to do. I don't know. I'm scared to death. What can I do? You're a good friend when you're a steady influence and you help that person to make the choice for life. Life is always worth choosing. And that choice never needs to be made alone. That choice can come with the support of many, many loving people. How wonderful if you're a young person, if you would have on your phone a picture of the Pregnancy Care Center along 50, a practical example of where your friend can go for help. And you can help them get there. If you're a parent, it's important that as long as your kids are within that window of your influence, a window that has a way of shrinking year by year, but as long as you have some influence in their lives, it's important that we have discussions about this issue at home and that you help your children to understand the common objections to our pro-life vision. So many will say that this is just a matter of religion, and that those who are pro-life are pushing their religion on others. They're shoving their religion down the throats of those who do not hold those views. We need to make sure that we have a good response for that. Yes, respecting life is a matter of our religion. Just as thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not kill. But it's more than that. It is not simply a sectarian view, but rather one that finds its basis in the natural law, the law that is written upon the hearts of every man, woman, and child on the face of the earth. We all know instinctively that it is a terrible thing to take the life of an innocent human being. And we also know the truth that no scientist would ever dispute, that life begins at conception. And our experience is that when we take for granted the innocent lives of human beings, when we discard them, when we make them vulnerable to the decisions of others, that our society is on its way to a collapse. We know what the right thing is. We stand on truth, and we stand with the one who is the way and the truth and the life. And so it's important on this particular day in our nation's history to remember that we are here for a reason, that God has put us on this earth, in this place, at this time, for a particular reason, and that each and every one has a unique way to contribute to the pro-life movement. Many opportunities are afforded to us in this parish. Our Respect Life Committee is always looking for ways for us to be of positive influence and to be of help. My encouragement is that you regard this invitation to participate more fully in Respect Life to be something that indeed comes from the Lord of life. It is a call that is particular, not anonymous, not random, and one that invites an immediate response.